Now your first concern is always proportions, and CC3 is amazing for proportions. So I'm going to create this folder here, call it Toon Demo, and we're going to save a copy of this scene that you get when you start CC3. And we're going to work on some proportions for a cartoon character. So if I click the Scene tab, you can see you can select the CC base, which is the character. And I'm just going to go to the front view. Then I'm going to select the camera and then go to settings and set it to 200 millimeter. And this is basically a flat orthographic view at 200 millimeter. So when we're making a character, we need to think about certain things. Now, a typical cartoon character has a larger head, big eyes. The eyes are usually at an angle. May or may not have heavier hips, depending on the female you're making. And typically a narrow waist. So you can see me here playing with the waistlines. And there are a ton of morphs. There are so many that I actually don't have them all memorized. Now I'm going to play with the legs. The default female in CC3 is a little bit of a fashion model build. And I want to change that, so I'm adjusting the size of the thighs. Let's go to head. Let's scale it up. And you're going to see me just bounce around, and I'm literally playing. Thinking in my head, what do I want the final sculpture to look like? And I have the ability now to adjust the proportions by just moving sliders, which is just amazing. You can see here I'm making the neck smaller. So besides bigger head, bigger eyes, eyes at an angle, you also have things like a very sloped nose, usually pointy. I'm adjusting the shape of the upper arms. And all these are typical characteristics of a female cartoon character. So I'm just looking at it, making sure I like it. Now, of course, the default normal maps and the default color maps will be a bit of a distraction, but just be aware we're going to change those. So here I'm playing with the eyes. So enlarging them a bit. Playing with the eye size slider. And as you can see, there's literally hundreds of morphs. I mean, it's amazing all the things that you can do to this mesh to get the proportions you want. And I'll type in the search engine occasionally. And here's the eye angle slider. So I'm just rotating the eyes so they're at a bit of a slope. I'm going to raise the brow because typically on cartoon characters there's a bit of an upper eyelid. You want to give it a little room. Now playing with the chin. And you can see that you can type in the search engine. Just click on the actor in the tree top node if you want to search through all the morphs, and then just type a phrase. And if there is a morph named anything like that, it'll pop up. So I'm just playing with the spatial relationships of the brows to the eyes. Now I'm in the full head morphs. I'm playing with the face young slider to see if it helps. You can see me sliding back and forth quite a bit. I'm checking it at different values. Probably do a bit of the face round. That seems to help. So you can really block out your sculpture simply by using sliders, getting your proportions down, and then, do your final touches in a sculpting program, such as ZBrush, for example. So I'm playing with the height of the eyes in relation to the brows. Now you're going to see the eyebrows stretching a little bit, and we're actually going to do a corrective paint for that. So don't worry about that. And this might take you some time. I mean, you want to think about your character and you want to get it blocked out close as possible to what you want your final sculpt to look like. But trust me when I say this is so much faster than actually doing it in a sculpt program. It really is. And when I change things, you'll see me go back sometimes because when I change one area, it affects the relationship to the other areas. So I will go back and forth and change things multiple times until I'm getting closer to what I want. You can see me playing with the areas around the nose. And I just kind of want the bridge of the nose to be sloped. We're going to give her the very stereotypical pointy nose, which is common in toon style females. I'm playing with the shape of the skull. One of the funny things about doing toon characters when they're bald and they have no props and they have no clothing is they kind of look very alien-like to me, and it can look strange until you're done, until you've reached your final. And that's just the nature of you're used to seeing cartoon characters, fully dressed with their hair and everything. So when they're kind of bald with no props, sometimes it might look a little strange, but you got to focus on the shapes that you want. Playing with the cheeks. And now I'm actually looking for this one slider that brings part of the face forward, lower part of the face. So you'll see me hunt and peck around because I actually don't remember what it's called, so I can't really use a search engine. So Do a little bit of searching here. Here's face angle. This definitely has some possibilities for cartoon characters. And that's the one I'm looking for. Face center depth. So I want that lower part of that face moving forward slightly. And now I'm adjusting the nose again just to get the slope that I want. And notice that you can type a value that's greater or less than the limit set on the slider. So if the slider only goes to -100, you can actually type in -200 and it'll work. Now I'm playing with the jawline because cartoon females typically have a pretty graceful jawline. You don't want it to be too strong. So here I'm adjusting the jaw angle slider to get that kind of nice slope to the jaw. If they have a super well-defined heavy jawline, then it's a very male trait. And you want to keep females graceful, smooth, clean shapes, subtle shapes. So I'm just checking the proportions of the body with the head. Make a few more leg adjustments. Playing with the calves. Adjusting her glutes, otherwise known as the tushy. Adjusting her chest size. Switching to a front view so I can see how it looks there. So once you have your cartoon character in mind, you're really just blocking in the major shapes, trying to get it as close to your design as possible. You see here I'm lowering the thighs because they kind of have fashion model proportions by default. And I don't want her legs to be super long. Playing with the arm length, seeing if I can shorten it a bit. Now, the world of cartoon characters is wide open. I mean, we could do amazing extremes. So there is no right way. There's what do you want your cartoon character to look like? Here I'm playing with the head scale again, making it a little bigger. But if you have a strong idea and you've got your design down on paper or strongly in your head, then you can follow your plan and get the proportions down before you ever start sculpting. And, pull back, zoom out, look at it from the front, the back, the side, the bottom, the top, and be honest with yourself. Is it pleasing? If it's a character that's supposed to be pleasing, is it pleasing to the eye? If it's supposed to be a cartoon character that's scary to the viewer, is it scary to you? And if it's not, then continue to refine the proportions before you start sculpting. Playing with the distance between the eyeballs. Playing with the eye size again, making it even larger, 10% larger, I think. Playing with the mouth size. Now, mouths are another area in cartoon characters that can vary widely. You can have a very tiny mouth and it's totally acceptable. People accept it in the design. Or you can have a huge mouth, or you can have a normal sized mouth. The range is pretty amazing. The differences that you can have and the shapes that you can have. You can see here I'm playing with the heart shape a little bit for the lips. And slowly over time, the proportions of your character will come to life by doing this. And then we can use this inside of ZBrush and do the final detailing that will bring your character to life. It's amazing stuff. So I'm going to change my camera lens back to something else, like a 50mm. And I think this is a good place to start, and we'll use this to sculpt with.